Greetings, salutations, and welcome back, everybody. My name is Dalton Cowan, and I am in freaking Costa Rica, of all places. Me llamo Stabby, también, bienvenido a mi canal. So, the first thing that happened to me as soon as I get here, and something that struck me as quite odd, is as soon as you get out of the airport, as soon as you get through customs, you go through baggage claim, and then you go through an ag inspection, and then as soon as you enter outdoors, you are met by literally hundreds of people with signs screaming, taxi, 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 amigo, amigo, taxi, taxi. Everybody wants to give you a ride. This is apparently very big business. So I make my way through these people. You have to walk 100 yards to get out of these people, and the airport has them kind of roped off. But I did finally wind up speaking to a guy. He spoke a bit of English, had a few tattoos. We started talking about that. To make a long story short, he was asking me about several accommodations that I needed and several that I didn't. And his name was Eric, of all things. He looked a hell of a lot more like a Jorge or a Horacio to me. I hope everybody will excuse my bad joke made in poor taste, and I did meet a guy named Jorge a little bit later on. Continue watching. So anyway, he's kind of like the middleman. He flags you down, figures out what you need, and then calls you a taxi and hops in the passenger seat. Now, that was not this particular taxi. This was another taxi that I took on a different day. But when I say that this man who was driving that taxi was a professional driver, my God, I don't think I would ever attempt to drive a vehicle in this country for a few reasons. Number one, the terrain is, to be able to describe to somebody who's never been here, the type of up and down that it is and the steepness of the grades is impossible to convey. Aside from that, the drivers are very much, if you see a space, take it and go. There are very few stoplights. People just, they just do what they want. If somebody sees a cop or something, they start to drive kind of careful. But for the most part, you have to get in where you fit in. Same thing with walking. You don't really want to wait and wave cars by. You just go. And that's just the culture here. So that struck me as a bit odd. I've never felt more safe in a vehicle, but I'm telling you, this guy was weaving in and out of traffic like it was nothing. But you can tell that that's just what he's done for probably 10 or 20 years. So anyway, we finally make our way to where I would wind up staying, and started staying there. First couple of nights, I just kind of hung out around there, got acclimated. I certainly didn't explore at night. I didn't do that until about my third day. I don't think I have any footage here of that. But if you want the real experience, you have to go out at night. People say that, or I've heard it suggested that foreigners, tourists, shouldn't go out at night. I didn't sense any danger. I didn't have any problem. There is a lot of bars on all of the doors. There's barbed wire. There's fences around everything. And that simply is part of the culture here as well. It's actually quite a safe country. They focus very heavily on personal security, and they have quite a large police force, and their police force here does basically everything from immigration to raids to, anything that a military would do, their police also do. But anyway, when a property is purchased, typically speaking, the fence and the barbed wire and all of the gates and everything are the first thing that are constructed, and then the house is later built into the property. So that is, they're heavy on personal self-reliance. I guess to a foreigner, it could look a bit intimidating, but it's really not like that. During my time here, something that I noticed is that the locals are extremely friendly. A lot of them do speak some English, although, I did have some difficulty with my limited Spanish. I had to use a translator several times. My phone does not work here. I guess I could have gotten like a cell phone card. Pretty much had to stop in and ask somebody to call for me a taxi if I needed one. The food is amazing. The money is beautiful, the country is beautiful, the plants, the animals, oh my God. I mean, everywhere you go, everywhere you look is just extreme, extraordinary beauty. So this is at the animal refuge, and I think I say that in a little bit. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth doing my editing. This has taken me several weeks. But these two marmosets or monkeys or whatever they were like pets that the police had seized. These here are some kind of a hybrid, I think what we call a, what the hell is the word? Macaw? I think that's the same thing. One of the really, really cool things that I got to do here is I got to go to the animal refuge here in San Jose. So during my time there, obviously, got to see a lot of really cool animals. There was monkeys, there was birds of all kinds, reptiles, turtles, crocodiles, alligators. Really, really had a good time doing this. So the purpose of this animal refuge, it's not like what we call a zoo. It's like an animal hospital or like a rehabilitation center. So animals come in that were confiscated by the police. Maybe it's like a rare animal that somebody was trying to like smuggle or keep as a pet when they weren't allowed to, or maybe they find an injured animal or an injured animal comes in. And the only time that the animals stay there for the rest of their lives is if they have an injury that prevents them from being reintroduced into the wild, if they've lost their instincts, or if they have mental issues, anything like that, they will keep these animals here. So several of the birds that you'll see weren't even kept in cages, and that's because they cannot fly. The guide was a person who spoke a lot of English, so she kind of gave me the tour in English. So that was kind of cool. I got to really understand what was going on there. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about a few common misconceptions about Costa Rica. So, number one, it's dangerous. Actually, I felt so safe during my entire stay here. I think I said that already. But even at night, I didn't have any problems. But it's just like anywhere else. There's always a rotten apple in the bunch. And there's certain areas that you don't venture into on your own or at night. And it's just like, I can imagine here in Charlotte, North Carolina, my God, all the places you wouldn't want to go at 2 a.m. just walking down the road, especially if you look like you have something worth taking. So as far as danger level, I think it's like the 34th safest country in the world or something, whereas like Mexico is like 140th, if I remember correctly. So, as far as rank, it's actually really safe. Another common misconception is that it's a cheap place to live. It is not. So you can think about the conversion rate basically, and it fluctuates some, but essentially 500 Costa Rican colones equals $1. And I found prices to be just about the same as here in the U.S. and quite a bit higher in a lot of cases. Cars are very expensive here, and the average house, according to some locals, is somewhere between about $50,000 and $100,000 U.S. And when I say house, a lot of these houses are way smaller than what an American would be used to. And you want to talk about having a yard? Forget about it if you live in town or if you live in one of the cities. Structures are literally built on top of each other, and it's so hilly that a lot of times when a house is built, another one's built right behind it, which is basically on top of it. And I went down there talking about having most of an acre, and this one guy just rolled his eyes at me, and he was like, "Oh, I have an acre, blah, blah." He was a guy that, he was Costa Rican, but he had lived in the U.S. for like 20 years, so, and he spoke really good English, but he gave me a hard time about that. We were in his backyard, which is basically like the size of my bedroom here, But just for a moment, back to the danger aspect of it. I mean, listen, it's just like anywhere else. Move low, move fast, look like the guy who does the mugging. Don't look lost, don't have a bunch of valuables on you, don't, if you think that you can just go there and be loose and think that somebody eventually is not going to take advantage of you, I'm sorry, that's going to be the case anywhere. So, you should always keep your wits about you. I'm by no means advocating that you go to this country and just go wandering around at night. Listen to the locals. The area that I was in was pretty safe. Escazú, I was like right next to the police station, and the park was right there. Pretty heavy police presence. Like I said, I didn't have any problems, but I'm certainly not advocating that you go to this country or any other and just start wandering around. I don't know what your level of awareness is. I don't know where you came from or what your street smarts are. So, always exercise caution. I'm not advocating that you go out and that you do the same thing that I did. So what you're seeing now is actually the capital. That's San Jose, down in the valley. And I'm somewhat to the southwest, looking toward or somewhat northeast into the main valley there. Now we have walked down out of the mountains into downtown Escazú. Again, I walked along, no problem. Nobody bugged me. Nobody asked me for anything. I don't know whether being the damn gringo with all the face tattoos helped or not, but I certainly didn't hang out in one place too long or try to look lost. But I had no problems whatsoever. And something I noticed about the stores being open is I went out real early in the morning one morning, and there was just nothing open. I guess it takes everyone a while to kind of get to work. But it's not lazy. But they simply just chill, and they live their lives, and they eat their fruit, and they don't rush around too much, and they're not constantly trying to step on each other's toes and climb higher in the rat race. And the culture is completely different to anything that an American would have any idea of until you go there and you experience it. And if you go there and you act like an American, you're going to be a jerk. And that's simply not how they do things down there. They have their own culture. When I went there, I respected the people. I respected the culture. I spoke the language. It's kind of the same thing that we demand of people who come to the United States. If you're going to go spend time in another country, you should assimilate to the culture. Otherwise, you might offend somebody. If you do that badly enough, then that could that could spell disaster. So, be cool. Be nice. Smile more than you think you should, unless somebody's giving you a look like they're about to take something from you. In that case, screw up your face. Walk a little faster. And look, I just want to reiterate that not everybody has the same level of awareness. some people look more like a target than others. My name is not Chad Chester. I don't wear boat shoes, and my daddy's not rich. So, I don't have that look about me. I'm not saying that you couldn't come down here and things get potentially dangerous. I mean, that's anywhere. I'll tell you what, though. I felt a hell of a lot safer walking around down here than I ever would in Charlotte, North Carolina. For sure. So I would wind up becoming good friends with this guy. His name is Jorge. And I met him in a pizza shop in San Jose. I had taken a taxi down there to speak with some tattoo shops and, just rub some elbows. And like I said, my phone wouldn't work, so I stopped into this pizzeria to ask if they could call for me a taxi. For whatever reason, they couldn't or were weird about it, so I asked for the Wi-Fi password, and this older woman, an abuelita, if you will, was asking me, how was I going to call for a ride? And I didn't speak very much Spanish, and she spoke no English at all. So I'm trying to explain to her that my phone doesn't work, and I'm new here, and that I needed a ride. And in walks Jorge, and we just kind of hit it off, and he wound up giving me a ride back to the hotel. And so anyway, he offered for a certain amount of money to take me 2 hours away to the west to go to the beaches. So I took him up on his offer. The following day, the next morning, we got together, and we went and saw the beaches, and that's actually where we're heading now. So it was quite a long drive to get there. And we would go through a lot of these toll booths, what they call peajes. And it seemed like every one that we went through got more expensive than the last. And I remember one being, I think, like 850 colones. So that's like what, like $1 and some change, $1.50. As we made our way towards the beaches, we would eventually come to this, I don't know, kind of like I guess like a little tourist attraction. It was one of the big rivers. You could walk out on the bridge, and you could see the river. There were some alligators in there. But as we stopped, they have these little stands where you can get food or fruit or whatever. And so I grabbed this one. I didn't know what in the hell it was. They called it in English passion fruit. I've never had it before in my life. And I started to eat it without the salt. One of the locals started to laugh at me. And that was when he said, "Here, put salt on it." And the salt made it much more tolerable, but it was really sour and really, really tart. I think I ate what you can see in just that, one little half of it there. And the rest of it I donated back to nature. My guide here would inform me that he had had it, but only ever baked into pastries and something he called cheesecakes. I don't know if that's the same thing here as it is, in the United States. So, just an honest man trying to be honest. I'm not a huge beach person. I much prefer the mountains or the volcanoes. But this was nice. I mean, it was nice to come out and see. They were beautiful. The sand was different. And something else that I noticed is I didn't see very many seashells, which I found a bit odd. And then in places, the sand would be almost black. Not at this particular beach, but where there was a lot more volcanic or igneous rock that had eroded. There was quite a bit of black sand. But this was just kind of like I guess this is where like a small stream meets the ocean. It wasn't very deep or anything. But again, I was pretty shell-shocked, if you will, at the lack of seashells. I don't know whether this area just... Because I know usually it's storms that kind of turn those up, and then... Anyway. Alright, so one of the things to take into consideration is that when you go to the outskirts of the country, so it's basically it's got two mountain ranges that run vertically through the middle. There's a central valley, and obviously there's beaches on either side, the Atlantic and the Pacific. So when you get out to the beaches, it is hot. It is, it's not nearly as cool as in the mountains. And you're, pretty much at the equator, so you're really close to the sun. Definitely wear sun protection if you're going to come out here. It was really hot. It was somewhere between like 80 and 90, and it felt hotter than that. Of course, I'm reading everything in Celsius because they don't use Fahrenheit down there, so I can only give you my best guess. It could have been hotter. I don't know. But in the Central Valley, it stays pretty cool. I mean, it gets hot during the day, but at night, I mean, you just cut a fan on, open the windows. It's like mid-60s. It seems like the country pretty much hovers between like 60 and 80 degrees. They don't have seasons in the same way that we do. I was trying to explain to somebody about how we have 4 seasons. And he was like, no, we only have 2. Summer and winter, and winter is, I mean, it never freezes, it never gets cold, the trees never lose their leaves. So this is one of the other beaches. This is on kind of like an overlook. It's like a cliff, if you will, and it's on iguana. So this was a really pretty place. I think this might be Playa Hermosa. I don't know. It literally translates to beautiful beach. And then I think this is where we walked down a ways. Yeah, this is where you've got all the volcanic rock outcroppings, and these go out way further than I dared to venture. They look pretty dangerous, and I was in flip-flops, so I treaded carefully. Wasn't keen to wind up in the hospital on this trip, so I got up, I took my little video, I climbed carefully. This is yet another beach. I can't remember the names of these, but you just drive down the road and there's beach after beach after beach after beach, and they're all beautiful. And these were somebody's horses. They seemed a bit smaller than American mares. But yeah, this is obviously like somebody's ranch. Jorge, what was that about being lost? What did you say?
You're lost?
You said you were lost?
Yeah, I'm lost. You're lost?
No. Well, I'm with you.
You're lost.
Yo contigo.
That's adventure.
All right, let's go. I got to give my guy a shout out. I mean, he was so awesome to me and took me to do so many cool things. And he was just a freaking great dude. Good vibes. You know what I mean? Just had a great time. We met as strangers, just chance happening, and just became brothers. I've talked to him every day since I left Costa Rica. He's going to be the first person that I go say hello to when I'm there. What can I say? That's my homie, mi hermano, mi amigo. And honestly, if somebody messes with him, they're going to have to mess with me too. as my family know. I told you I'd get in that damn water. I ain't never seen the Pacific Ocean before. Of course I did. I had to jump in. So the trip went great, for the most part. And then at one point, about 4 days in, I realized that I do not have my bank card. I check it. Nobody's taken anything out of it. What I think happened is I left it in one of the machines withdrawing cash, and that it just sucked it in. And I wasn't going to have enough time to track it down, so it wasn't a big deal. Now, a couple days later, I'm getting ready to go to the airport. I'm getting ready to leave the little spot that I'm hanging out at, and we get all the way to the airport, which is like 45 minutes away from where I'm staying. And it's an international flight, and I'm supposed to get there like 3 hours early, right? Well, we didn't leave until an hour later than we were supposed to. Then we hit some traffic, so it's like, I got like an hour to board this freaking plane. We pull up to the airport, I'm scouring my bag, and, okay, I don't have my bank card, so I can't buy another plane ticket. Or at least not unless I get creative and PayPal this dude's cousin or something, which I had to do like one other time. So anyway, make a long story short, I get all the way to the airport and discover that I do not have my car keys or my house keys. Now, had I been smart, I would have just left them in my bag. But I didn't, for whatever reason, took them out, left them on the table down there. So I'm calling the spot, and yep, come to find out, my keys are right there. And so I have a very tough decision to make. Do we chance it? Do we go all the way back? Traffic here is crazy. And to get out of the city is a little bit easier than it is to get into the city. So it's like not even the same time that it takes to get from here to there and then there to here. But we decided to risk it for the biscuit. Me and Jorge, me and my freaking boy. He drives me all the way back to the hotel. I compensate him. I didn't get anything for free. I don't want to put that across. But he was really willing, and he was really that dude, and he really took me back there. And bro, I'm telling you, when I got into the gate at the airport, they were boarding.